Today, we're joined by Greg Kittelson of Kittelson Carpo and KMC Solutions. He is an American that has been in the Philippines for a number of years now and has a number of businesses, and he can help you with a huge breadth of experience and insight into outsourcing and business solutions.
My name is Gregory Kittelson. I first came to the Philippines about 15 years ago from Rhode Island, United States. And I came out to work with a friend of mine who had set up a outsourcing software development company here. So I've been involved in that quite a bit. Got involved in some other startups and some other outsourcing outfits, and then eventually started my own consulting firm, which was Kittelson Carpo Consulting. And that was essentially to assist foreign companies setting up and doing business in the Philippines. But it was more of a service than a company, not thinking we'd have even one employee, but there were so many companies coming from the United States, Canada, Australia, and Northern Europe that we eventually had to hire more staff. So we hired a number of lawyers, CPAs, visa consultants, accountants, recruiters, headhunters, and basically set up a company of over 100 employees that were assisting these foreign companies setting up here. And the majority of the companies that were setting up cost centers or IT, business process outsourcing, software development, any type of back office operation here in the Philippines as a cost-saving measure. We got overwhelmed with the amount of clients that came in. A number of them started asking for, well, pretty much all of them started asking for office space. So we initially were referring these clients to some of the larger multinational real estate services firms, and then realized there was an opportunity there to set up our own company, given the volume that was coming in. So we were assisting these companies looking for office space as well. Then some of them wanted their own incubation space or seat leasing facility, serviced office, co-working, and we set up a separate company for that. Then eventually some of the clients decided they didn't want to set up their own company, incorporate, go through the government compliance. They were looking for something between a full service third-party business process outsourcing company and putting up their own company. So we created a service called staff leasing, and it's a very good option for companies outside the Philippines who want to essentially get their feet wet with an outsourcing operation here with a cost center. So with the staff leasing option, we would source, recruit, and hire staff dedicated for our clients abroad, let's say the United States or Australia, and put that staff within our facilities. And that staff would be dedicated to our clients and managed by our clients. But of course, we would take care of the onboarding, the contracts, all aspects of HR, the taxes, government compliance, and monthly or weekly payroll. And then of course, if there was any type of termination of the employee, we would handle that as well. And the employees would simply log into the office through our biometrics in one of our facilities that are located all throughout Metro Manila and also Cebu. And so things have pretty much grown from starting with Kittelson Carpo Consultant, not thinking we'd even have one employee, to now over 1,000 employees between Kittelson Carpo Consulting, KMC Solutions, and KMC Savills. And again, 90% of our clients are or have been companies that wanted to either set up an outsourcing operations through our companies or do it themselves with a number of our services. I came out to the Philippines 15 years ago, and I landed in Makati. And Makati was or has been essentially the central business district. The Metro Manila has grown significantly, and now there's essentially 3 central business districts between Ortigas, Makati, and Fort Bonifacio, or BGC. And when I first came out, I definitely saw the similarities between the United States and the Philippines. The Philippines is very Americanized. It's the third largest English-speaking country in the world, with exceptionally friendly people, very accommodating, and really just saw the opportunities here. There was starting to see some large economic growth, and more specifically in the IT, BPO or outsourcing industry, which has pretty much grown 20 to 25% over the last decade, year on year. Very accommodating place, very warm, great people, great English inside the offices, and really just an enjoyable place to live. I think what you initially saw was a number of American companies setting up call centers out here, or contact centers. Once that happened, the companies that set those up saw opportunities to offshore or outsource more functions. So anything from accounting to HR to finance to data entry, software development, graphic design, animation, you name it. So essentially anything that can be done behind a computer screen is and has been and will be outsourced to the Philippines. So that's why you see that significant growth year on year. And another example of significant growth is a lot of the call centers were in India. And India has now shifted their call center or contact center operations to the Philippines. Either move them over 100% or at least the majority of them. So if you're looking at the, mainly the Australian or Australian market, New Zealand market, a lot of them were looking for an American, a Philippines solution. And now you're starting to see a lot of Indian companies here, Indian executives, country managers, which initially managed centers in India, are now doing it here. It started with the larger conglomerates, of course, the larger multinationals, and that went all the way down to SMEs, and of course startups that none of us had heard of. Our client base and the companies in the Philippines are everything from a company of which would have literally 2 employees here in the Philippines, all the way up to 50,000. So it's really the whole realm of size of companies out here now. There are different options, and again, you have companies that want to set up out here and say, listen, we want to do everything on our own, meaning we want a company incorporated, we want to hire our own employees, put them under our new company's corporate umbrella, find office space, and manage all the processes ourselves. Then on the other end, you have companies from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Northern Europe, who never set foot in the Philippines, never come out here, but look for a third-party outsourcing service provider, which does A to Z for them. Even manages all the processes and manages the people here. Then you have something in the middle. This is something that we offer at KMC Solutions, which is a staff leasing option, which is we go out and hire the employees for you, put them underneath our corporate umbrella. It's our payroll, our HR, but you manage those employees either from in our office or from abroad, from say Sydney, Melbourne, San Francisco, New York, London. So again, you can see there's all different types of options. There really is no magic number when you should start outsourcing. There are companies which of course have been around for years, decades, even 100 years, who finally decide to outsource. There are startups from day one, or for the first employee is somebody here in the Philippines, and they immediately begin to outsource. So you're really seeing a wide variety of situations like that. I think if you're going to outsource through somebody else, through a third party, definitely get references. Ideally, it'd be nice to come out here and visit their office in the Philippines and get to know their management, take a look at their facilities, test their internet connection, of course, and see if it's the right partner or right outsourcing operation for you. If you're interested in setting up your own company and hiring your own people, then it's always a good idea to come out here and get a lay of the land. And I think most companies and most people are very surprised once they get to Metro Manila to see the sophistication, to see the amount of Class A commercial buildings that are here, to see the amount of beautiful and high-end residential facilities which they can live in if they do decide to live out here, and the infrastructure, the internet, and the growth. I think that's a surprise to a lot of people. Anything that can be done behind a computer screen can essentially be outsourced to the Philippines. So the outsourcing industry in the Philippines started with the call center industry. And that is essentially call center. Then it moved to BPO, business process outsourcing, to business process management is another newer term, but also to KPO, knowledge process outsourcing, which is services that are higher up in the food chain, if you will, all the way to legal process outsourcing. There's always scaling up on the service food chain, if you will. Everything relating to legal, to medical, to robotics, to significant large mobile application development. So it's all being done here in the Philippines. Animation, Disney movies are made out here, so quite significant. I think the positive thing about the Philippines and the outsourcing industry here is you do have options, and it's incorporating your own company. It's doing some type of staff augmentation or staff leasing model where the employee is hired for you by a third-party company like, say, KMC Solutions, and then you manage those processes and those employees from inside our office or from abroad through Skype or email or video conference. And then, of course, the full outsourced service provider where they handle everything from A to Z for you. So it really comes down to what is best for the client, what is best for the company. And I think it's important to look at all three scenarios and decide which option is best for you. But there's always people here in the Philippines to guide you, and that's something that our three companies would do, whether it's our Kittelson Carpo Consulting, our consulting firm, KMC Solutions, which is our flexible office solutions business and staff leasing business, or a third-party full-blown outsourcing provider. So they're always very happy to speak to you, go over the different options, or present their options to you, and then you decide what is best for your country, your company. I think the hardest step, or the biggest step for a lot of people, is to make the decision to outsource to a third party offshore, or to set up their own cost center, their own outsourcing operation, if you will. And once they do that, I think they're pleasantly surprised to see not only are they going to outsource a function of their company, whether it might be the software development or the animation or the HR, the accounting, data entry, but once they do that and hire those first few people or outsource those first few people, then they're pleasantly surprised and say, well, this is great. I can now outsource other functions of my business to the Philippines. This initial solution works. I'm working with a company which is taking care of me, walking me through everything, providing me quality people, quality candidates. Things are managed properly in a proper office with a proper internet connection. It's working great. Now let me start looking at other areas of my business to outsource. And it just continues from there.
And people can start with one client?
Yeah, clients can start with one employee. Sure, that happens all the time. Some scale just, over a few years they might scale just a few employees, but there's clients that scale dozens of employees a month. A lot of companies outsource that first function for cost-saving reasons, or because they just simply can't find the staff in their own country. And this is something that happens a lot of time with Australian companies. And then they realize the quality of the employee here or the talent in the Philippines is at par with their environment back at home, whether it's New Zealand, Australia, the United States, Canada. So that's one of the positive things about the Philippines. Same quality of talent at a reduction of the price.